I love this center because I believe that anyone who comes here is coming to heal, coming to grow, coming to be more of who they came to this planet to be. And yet I find that sometimes when we show up here, we are not as committed to that growth and that healing as we thought we were. Sometimes people say, well, Barbara, what's wrong? We don't have thousands of people, and you know this center would help thousands of people. I know this center would help thousands of people. This center would help millions of people. But the people have to be ready to be in alignment with that help. And that's why I say congratulations to you for showing up. Because it's not just let's come and feel good. Sometimes it is, and isn't that great when that happens? And sometimes it's let's come and see what we need to let go of. Let's come and see what we're done with, what we've outgrown, what we're ready to expand into. Let's come together and really take a good look at ourselves and see what's working and what is no longer working. And I've got to be honest, that's when some people leave. Because some people are under the misconception that they can have a different life on the outside without having to do anything on the inside. They're under the misconception, even though they might say, well, I understand that I'm creating my reality, that I'm a powerful, creative, spiritual being, and that the outer is simply a reflection of the inner. However, I want the outer to change without changing the inner. Can you do that for me? And I say, no, I can't do that for you. This is not the center for going against the laws of the universe. You can't keep doing the same thing and get something new. It's just not going to happen. And so sometimes people get mad at me. I don't know if anybody ever gets mad at you when you tell them the truth. I call you friend. I say thank you. Someone says something to me that is bringing me back to center. It's like, really? Is that really what you wanted to have come out of your mouth? Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't. I don't know where I went. I went into the land of not being responsible. Thank you for calling me back to center. But sometimes people will get mad at me because I won't give up what I believe for them. And I don't know if sometimes you may feel that way. I know I do. Gosh, I wish that I could live in the world where the outer changes without changing who I am. I wish I could live in the world where I can be mindful and an egomaniac at the same time. But it doesn't work. It's like I have to choose. I'm either going to practice mindfulness, only God is real, or did you see what they did? That's just wrong, wrong, wrong. And when I go into do you see what they did? That's just wrong, wrong, wrong. I pay a price for it. I pay a big price for it. I wield a lot of power. I wield a lot of power, and when I zap something, it doesn't always just bounce back. Sometimes I have to look inside of myself and clean it and release and change and kind of go back in time and redo that circumstance so that I haven't just completely pulverized the atoms of creation around that experience. I have to choose how I want my life. And it's all about how we see our world. Whether or not we see our world as something that's happening to us, or whether we see our world as an opportunity. Not one of those opportunities. Those of you in 12-step programs know to what I'm referring. An opportunity to be able to grow and expand. Oh, Barbara, treat for me. Counsel with me. Talk with me about how much I want to be in a relationship. I want my true love. Well, great. Then you've got to stop fighting everybody. You've got to stop picking fights in the world. If you want to move into a consciousness of love, you've got to stop thinking that people can do anything to you, that anything is happening to you, and understand that life is all about who we are, and that the people that I see some nods, the people in our life are just mirrors of what we are. So check yourself out. What kind of people do you have in your life? Do you have people that are loving and generous and kind and supportive? Great. That's a reflection of you. Do you have people who are crabby? Do you have people who gossip, people who are angry, people who are selfish? Well, that's a reflection of you. And that's the point when we come along our spiritual growth, our spiritual path, where it's important not to bail. Because even if we're looking at our world as a reflection of the us that is ready to heal, I say, yay! Look at how we've created all of this. Anger, upset, illness, poverty, all of that has been created because we are ready to bust through it. And so often, we want to say, no, 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 that's not me. That has nothing to do with me. I'm over here. That's over there. We're not connected. Oh, but there's only one. There's either only one or there isn't only one. Everything is either one or it isn't. And so when someone says, everything is falling apart, it's like, Diane, when you came here, you were a wreck. And yay, because she was ready to heal. And you didn't run away. For 6 years you have been here. You didn't run away. And I know you had to look at some pretty sticky things inside of yourself. And evidently from what you said, you were continuing to look at that as you go back to Minnesota. When we get to that point, it's our opportunity to say, I am ready to let this go. You remember that movie where the catchphrase was, I'm sick and tired and I'm not going to take it anymore? Sometimes we have to get to that space inside of ourselves. I'm sick and tired of me hurting myself, of me sabotaging myself, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. But that means we have to let go. We have to let go of some of our sacred cows, like our opinion. Sometimes we hold opinions that we don't even know are opinions. We just think that it is the absolute truth. And if someone challenges us on that, we draw a line in the sand and want to go to war. Like if someone comes in here and they are demonstrating a lack of financial security. And so what do I tell them? The way to have more money in your life is to set the law in motion and give more money out into the universe. And what will happen is life will take that, multiply it, show it back up in your life, and you will have more. And that is such a foreign concept to them that their opinion, which is there's only a limited amount of resources in my life and I'm barely hanging on as it is, they see as the absolute truth. And rather than being able to step outside of that and see if there might not be another reality, one that holds prosperity and opulence and security in it, rather than doing that, they draw a line in the sand and they go to war. I don't know if you've got anybody like that in your life or in your mirror. Sometimes our opinions are so ingrained that it never even occurs to us that there might be a different way to look at our world. And so I want to show you just a couple of things that might help us see this difference of opinion. The first slide is the classic. What is it? It is a white vase. And if anybody says it's not a white vase, then they're wrong, wrong, wrong. Well, wait a minute. It's two faces, two silhouettes of faces. And if anybody says it's not two silhouettes of faces, they're wrong, wrong, wrong. Wow, no wonder people are exhausted. What happens when we open up our awareness to embrace the idea that there may be more going on than what we think? What happens when we open up our awareness to the idea that we can think something new, something that maybe we've never thought of before, that we don't have to be so invested in our opinion that in order for us to feel right, we have to make someone wrong? Why can't we all be right? That's the only way that there will be peace in our own hearts, in our own homes, in our own lives, and in our world. When we open up, then we can see, wow, it's both. And it kind of flashes back and forth. It's dark silhouettes of faces, profiles, and it's a vase. Wow. How about the next one? What do you see when you look in the mirror? Do you see the young beauty, or do you see the old woman? I know people who are in their teens that see the old woman. And I know people in their 90s that see the young beauty. What are we going to see in our world? It's either a woman looking away, or it's the profile of an old woman. The young woman has the plume coming up out of her hat. Do you see that? They're both there. And when we can put our own opinions on hold to be able to look at a greater reality, then we expand our ability to heal. But to do that, we have to stop being so invested in what we think is right. What about the next one? How many prongs are there? Well, I can see very clearly there's two. Wait a minute. I can see that there's three. Wait a minute. If we can't stop and imagine that the way that we are seeing our world might not be a complete picture, we'll never notice that there's more than what we think we see. What we think we see is either 2 or 3. And I can't tell you. It starts to hurt my eyes how many there are. There must be 2 and 3. Wow. I can be right and you can be right. Wow. What kind of a shift does that make in our lives? What happens is, and hold that there, what happens there is we have a beginning point, which is what we see. And we have an end point, which is what we believe. And we fill in the middle. We fill in the middle with the story of what comes between the beginning, I see that, and the end, because this is what I believe. The beginning and the end. And the mind is such an amazing thing that it will fill it in and make sense of even chaos. Let's look at the other one. Just go ahead and read this. Did you get that? According to a research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letters be at the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. You are always filling in the mess. Next slide. So, if you know your nature is to fill it in and make sense out of it based on what you see and what you believe, then don't you think it's important to allow yourself to step back and wonder whether or not that's really what's going on? You know, we teach here that we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings alive and well on planet Earth, that we manifest our lives in every second, that we actually command the molecules to come forth into creation as an outpicturing of what we believe that they are going to be. Some would say that every morning when we awaken, we bring all of the molecules of our life together and structure them in such a way that when we open our eyes, it makes sense. Do you know that what goes into your eye has nothing to do with what your brain sees? That it's your brain that takes these images, these flashes, these lights and darks, and puts them together to make form that your eye doesn't see a face or a chair or the floor or the ceiling or me. Your eye doesn't see that. Your brain makes it all up. Makes it all up, fills in the mess, based on the beginning and the end. So if you don't like what you're filling in, or if you're ready to let go of what you're filling in, it's important to look at the beginning and the end. One thing that I learned long ago is that not everyone sees things the same. I've done a lot of couples counseling, and it's fascinating. These people are in totally different relationships. They talk about the same event with a completely different story. And it reminds me of the police reports of an accident that will have eyewitnesses say it was a blue Volvo. No, it wasn't. It was a green Volkswagen. No, it wasn't. It was a van. It was a pickup truck. They were turning right. They were turning left. They went through the light. They stopped at the light. There was a train involved. Everybody's got a different story. And every one of them thinks that they are right. The important thing is to be able to let go of our need to be right. To let go and see if there's not a different way of looking at something. If your life is hard, consider that there's an easy life that you can be living. But in order to do that, you have to let go of your attachment to life being hard. And to do that, you have to be willing to see yourself and to acknowledge what you're doing. Sometimes I think we are like a doctor's office, and people come in and they've got, like an infection on their toe, and they bring it in to Dr. Barbara now. And they bring the toe in, and Dr. Barbara says, oh, I can see you've got an infection there. Well, we'll go ahead and drain it, give you some antibiotics, bandage it up, you'll be good as new in no time. They go, how dare you see me as having an infection? I'm perfect, whole, and complete. I don't have any infection. I don't have anything wrong with me. I don't have any issues. I don't have anything that I've ever done to create this, except my foot hurts so much I can't walk. Well, if we have something going on in our life, if we have something that is creating over and over and over again, don't you think it's good to take a look at it and maybe drain it? Maybe let it go? Maybe clean it out a little bit? If we recreate circumstances over and over again because we're experiencing struggle, because we're suffering, because we don't have enough, whether it's money or time or love or attention or energy, whether we are creating hardships in our life, don't you think it's a good idea to be able to look at that, to set our opinion that I can't be wrong, that everybody else has to be wrong, but I can't be wrong, set that opinion aside and say, is there another way to look at this? Maybe I do have an infection. Maybe it does need to be drained. Maybe a little bit of salve on it wouldn't hurt. Maybe I do have issues still hanging on from my childhood. Maybe my need to be right is getting in the way. Maybe I have some control issues. Maybe I have some unresolved anger. Maybe I have some blame and I keep trying to punish myself for something that I made up a long time ago in between the first and the last letter of the words. And maybe I'm ready to let that go. It takes a lot of inner strength to be able to stand still long enough and stop the fight. Stop the fight inside of ourselves, stop the fight with each other, and to be willing to look at a greater reality, one that has both pictures in it at the same time, and say, is there something going on here that I'm missing? I've often told people that the problem with not having a teacher is that you don't know what you don't know. And usually they think they know it all. But you don't know what you don't know because you don't have someone who loves you enough to say that's a limited viewpoint. There is something greater to know here. And yet we go on our merry way, needing to be right and justifying it and using anger and judgment as a way to hack a path through the jungle of our life. And every so often we show up around people who are happy and we go, I want that. I want to be happy, I want to be connected, I want to be loved. Well, in order to do that, you have to let go of the old you. You have to be willing to see the entire world differently, to see it through the eyes of God, to see it as God sees it, to see each and every person in our lives as a gift, no matter what form they take, to see everything that's brought into our life as a gift for us either to let go of or for us to transform. Either one works. This spiritual path asks a lot of us. And it would be wrong of me to pretend that it's just about life being a bed of roses and blessings falling down from the sky and our lives transform moment by moment, without also acknowledging the work that is required to change on the inside so that the outside will shift. If you've got a belief in limitation, celebrate it. Yay! I've got something to work with now. I know what it is that I'm going to let go of. If you have a belief in something hurting you, like something can come out of the blue and hurt you, celebrate that. Look at what it is you can let go of. If you have a belief of lack of any kind, celebrate that and know that this is something that you can let go of. You can get a greater perspective, a greater reality, because you do not want to end up like the captain of this ship. Actual transcript of a U.S. naval ship with Canadian authorities off the coast of Newfoundland in October 1995. This radio conversation was released by the Chief of Naval Operations on October 10, 1995. Americans, please divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. Canadians, recommend you divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. Americans, this is the captain of a U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. Canadians, no, I say again, you divert your course. This is like some marriages. This is where the ego comes in, where we cannot see in front of us. Americans, this is the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, the second largest ship in the United States Atlantic Fleet. We are accompanied by 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, and numerous support vessels. I demand that you change your course 15 degrees to the north. That is 15 degrees north, or countermeasures will be undertaken to ensure the safety of this ship. Canadians, this is a lighthouse. Your call. However you see your world, consider that there's a greater vision waiting for you. But to do that, you have to let go of the need to be right, to justify your position, and to attack those who disagree. Because somewhere along the way, there's going to be a lighthouse. And the choice is to either shift, to let go of what we think is real, and to embrace our world in love. That's the only way that the outer will shift to peace and happiness, prosperity, health, and joy. It's your choice.